Welcome back, Ronin Renegades. I am Lupine Fiasco, this is Daily FaB gameplay, and today's game will be against Riptide. For anyone who is new to the channel, welcome to the Resistance. What we do here is review replays of games that I have played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will walk through turn cycles as if I were playing them now, while explaining my thought process for the lines that I take. We compare that to what I did at the time of recording, to either learn from my mistakes or internalize good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like Pro Quests or Road to Nationals, and most importantly, walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. Today's game features my Switchblade list. If you would like to check it out or try it for yourself on Talishar, the FaB deck link is available in the video description below. While you're down there, if you have not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. That is the best free way to support me and to make sure you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and my Patreon link is also available in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you Discord access, your name will show up in every daily FaB gameplay video, and there are more great bonuses to come. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Without further ado, let's talk about our sideboard and our game plan. We have lost the die roll, and we are going to be put first. It's a little unfortunate. We would like to go second in this matchup, as we do against every ranger. Riptide now has the opportunity to block our opening attacks and get the first crack at our life total or at our meaningful cards in hand. The most we can do is hope to leak some damage over his blocks and set up an arsenal. We are going to bring our Searing Emberblade and our Mask of the Pouncing Lynx into this matchup. Riptide is less controlling than Azalea is. He does not have access to Red in the Ledger, so he doesn't have the ability to inhibit us playing multiple cards in a turn. But what he does have is Frailty Trap, Death Touch, and Codex of Frailty. It is too much frailty for us to want to bring our Kodachis. And because we aren't bringing our Kodachis, we don't want to bring our Mask of Momentum. Riptide is going to be blocking. He is going to have defense reactions in his deck that cleanly cover our head jabs. So we want to bring in Pouncing Lynx and look for a good opportunity to just blow him up. Riptide does not deal arcane damage. No ranger does at this point, so we do not need our Spell Void, and of course we are using our trusty Snapdragon Scalers. The only change that we are going to make here is that we are going to bring our Spreading Flames rather than our Bleed Outs. Without the Kodachis to discount the cost of Bleed Outs, it is a terrible, terrible card, and Spreading Flames is just going to increase the power of our turn cycles. We're not bringing defense reactions for Riptide. That all you got gets absolutely no value against the hero, and we do not need our Sink Belows. We would much rather race Riptide. And that is the game plan here. We are looking to race. Riptide will deal offensive value with his traps in addition to the defensive value, as every trap he runs is activated by something in our deck. Frailty Trap is triggered by all of our Go Again. Inertia Trap is triggered by our Shuko, by our Phoenix Flame, by Art of War and Spreading Flames. But hey, we still have Ancestral Empowerment. I'm not expecting him to bring a reaction trap, but he could very well get value from it. That is in addition to all the Crucible of War traps that get value just from being played. So we are going to take quite a bit of damage from traps. We do need to play a bit more value-oriented than we do against Azalea. There are going to be Riptide attacks that we just want to block, Death Touch being the biggest, but of course a good Remorseless is going to deal quite a bit of damage to us. so value is something we need to be aware of. The only other thing to watch based on those traps is our life total. Riptide presents damage like Brute present Reckless Swing, and if we let ourselves get too low on life, then Riptide may very well just kill us on our turn. Outside of that, hit him real hard, hope that his traps do not line up well with our attacks, and just win the game. Let's jump into it and see how all of that comes together. Phoenix Flame goes to discard, and we draw into quite the poor hand. The most that we can do here is really just play a Warmonger's Diplomacy. We have the ability to get some of these finishers out of our hand, which is not a bad thing to do. If we pitch our Salt the Wound and our Snatch to FaB, we can pick up and play our Phoenix Flame, then play a Warmonger's Diplomacy, and arsenal our Lava Burst. Warmonger's Diplomacy does not have the insane value against Riptide that it does against Azalea, and even looking at Riptide's equipment suite, we see that he is running Trench of Sunken Treasure. So that, plus the fact that Riptide has no arsenal, means that Warmongers will likely not get nutty value, but it prevents Riptide from getting value out of his Laces, out of his Premeditates, and any of his pump spells. So it will hopefully buy us a little time to put some damage together and let us take tempo back that we lose by going first. Overall, though, this is a bad opening hand. We would have liked to be able to at least present some damage to maybe get cards out of Riptide, maybe leak a little damage over the top of blocks. As it is, we do what we can. Both Riptide and I choose War, and we will ship it on back. Riptide here coming with E-Strike. This is going to be for 5 go again. I snap pass on blocks. Let's take a look at this hand and see if I think that was a good idea. With the Lava Burst in our arsenal, there still isn't a ton that we can do with this hand. We could play Spreading Flames by pitching E-Strike. We could then pitch our second E-Strike to Furnace to attack with the Ember Blade, play our Ravenous Rabble, then our Lava Burst. That presents a total of 16 points of damage. That isn't bad. The other line we have available is we could E-Strike for 5, draw a card, bottoming our Spreading Flames. E-Strike for 5, go again, bottoming whatever card we drew from the first E-Strike, attack with our Ravenous Rabble, then our Lava Burst. It comes in for a potential 19 points of damage. So all of this is to say, I'm not super inclined to block here. We can get value out of this hand if we spend some equipment to do it. Here, an Infecting Shot comes for just 5. We could block this with our E-Strike and a Ravenous Rabble. On our turn, we send E-Strike, bottom, Spreading Flames for 7. Overall, we are getting a value of 14 from that turn cycle. Blocking this Infecting Shot for 5 prevents a total of 7 damage. Then we send 7 of our own. Based on the turn cycles I put together leading up to that, I don't love that plan. We are either presenting 16 points of damage without Snapdragon Scalers or a minimum of 19 with Snapdragon Scalers. I would rather take this damage and just throw at least 16 back at Riptide, maybe even more if we wanted to break Mask of the Pouncing Lynx to find another Lava Burst for 7. I think that's just really, really good. And in editing this gameplay footage, I hadn't put that line together. I think that's just really good. Let's just not block here. As it is, I do choose to block. I think there is validity to that we are looking to find an Art of War and we just need to buy time with this finisher. But what this doesn't take into account is inertia trap. That the E-Strike for 7 generates inertia from the trap and we lose our lava burst. So we take 1 point of damage from the inertia trap, Riptide blocks 3, and we lose 5 or even 6 points of value from our arsenal. I really think that throughout this game, I am going to undervalue how damaging inertia trap is, and that's something I need to think a lot more about when I play against Riptide. So I think on that last turn, we really should have just taken 7 from the infecting shot and thrown a bunch of damage back at Riptide's face. We draw into a pretty bad hand of cards. We can certainly make this work, but overall it isn't very good. Ancestral Empowerment doesn't have a great target here. We need to use our Snapdragon Scalers to even have a turn, so I don't mind blocking here. We can block this Endless Arrow with our Salt the Wound and our Ancestral Empowerment, and on our turn throw the Snatch. Snatch for 4 possibly gets a block out of Riptide, as they may expect us to Snapdragon the Snatch. At the very least, if the Snatch hits, we draw a card and we get a choice of what we put into our arsenal between Blaze Headlong and the Mystery card. Then we look to set up a much bigger next turn. Meanwhile, we are preventing Riptide from having an arsenal, and we are mitigating some damage. I choose to block with the Blaze Headlong instead of the Salt the Wound, looking to set another finisher into the arsenal. I don't know if I agree with that line. I see why I did it. I think overall, I'm less happy with it, especially drawing into another Salt the Wound. I couldn't have known that, but I think given that choice now, I would have preferred to have a Blaze Headlong in Arsenal. And we see that, of course, that would have been much, much better with this hand. Couldn't know it, don't be results oriented, but I think given that choice, I would stick the Blaze Headlong in. We will take 4 damage from this Falcon Wing. Riptide is going to play a Lace and load an arrow and throw Drill Shot for 7. This is an interesting line for us to deal with. Drill Shot is such a bad card for FaB to deal with because it puts the counter on our Flamescale Furnace. So Drill Shot on its own, if we don't block, deals an extra 2 points of damage because it puts a Battle Worn counter on our Furnace and we lose that 2 points of block. So what we end up doing instead is we block with our Furnace no matter what, no matter if we're going to take damage or not. We block with the Furnace. Then Drill Shot puts a Battle Worn counter on Furnace. The combat chain breaks. Flamescale Furnace gets another Battle Worn counter and breaks to Temper. Drill Shot is such a dumb card for FaB to deal with Furnace. So that all being said, what I'm looking at doing here at the time of recording is blocking out Drill Shot. We can block it with Salt the Wound, Brand with Cinderclaw, and Flamescale Furnace. We prevent a total of 10 points of damage. That's from 7 from Drill Shot, 2 from the Blood Rot counter, and 1 from Drill Shot, putting a Battle Worn counter on Furnace, leading it to break. But we have a really good turn lined up. Brand, Emberblade, Phoenix Flame, Salt. At some point in there, we can break Pouncing Links to find Double Strike, which essentially is a 0 for 6, as it increases the power of both salts. If I'm taking this turn now, I am blocking this Drill Shot with Furnace, then taking 5 from the Drill Shot and 2 from the Blood Rot to go to 20, and I'm throwing just a ton of damage back at Riptide. As it is, I do block all of this out. And while I do think that playing this sort of value game against Riptide is okay, overall, I'm taking it too far. I'm blocking too much and sacrificing too much damage. We catch Riptide here choosing not to block, which is great news for us. At this point, I throw the Phoenix Flame. The Phoenix Flame connects, and I break Mask of the Pouncing Lynx to find Salt Wound. And I hate this line based on blocking on the previous turn. I think this is a huge mistake, that we should just throw our Salt from Arsenal and pass the turn. That if we were committed to throwing so much damage at Riptide, we should have just not blocked with that last hand. I think this is a pivot away from the tempo-based strategy that I have been implementing up till this point, and it isn't worth it. That, yeah, we deal a bunch of damage to Riptide, we take him to 11, but it's too late. We should have already been looking to do this, as opposed to what I did previously, which is block too much. We aren't going to block this Bolt and Shot, that's totally fine. Riptide gets his Ponder token, and we are going to have to deal with another Drill Shot. Here choosing not to block, which I think is fine. We lose 1 point of value kind of either way. Either the Drill Shot puts a counter on the Flamescale Furnace and we can no longer block with it, or it puts a counter on the Shuko, and now Shuko blocks for 1, so we don't need to worry about any sort of block the Drill Shot, or else we're losing value. We're losing value by not doing that. On our turn, we are going to choose not to play the Art of War, and I think this is speaking to me underestimating the power of Inertia Trap again. Now with Shuko, we are presenting 13 points of damage, 12 because of the Frailty token. Ronin Renegade, Emberblade, Phoenix Flame, Shuko, Lava Burst, Arsenal, Art of War for a future turn. But because of Inertia Trap, we often don't get an Arsenal in this game, and it happens just enough that I think it is worth playing around. I also think that with Emberblade, a 4-card Art of War becomes much better than it is with Kodachi's, and it's something I should be looking to do more often, especially when Riptide is already so low on life. So we do throw the Lava Burst for 6. Gets blocked by Crown and, spoilers, Inertia Trap. And unfortunately, we don't have a way to use this Art of War. We're checking what Inertia Trap does just to make sure that the card from hand goes into deck, not into graveyard. If we did have to discard this Art of War, I would instead pitch it to Flamescale Furnace, just to keep it in the deck. Not that we have any shuffle effects around. E-Strike here coming for just 7. We draw into a bit of a clunky hand for trying to kill Riptide. We would like to see more reds as opposed to blues. So as it is, I don't mind blocking this with a Warmonger's Diplomacy. That said, we could also just take 7, throw Brand, Emberblade, Phoenix Flame, play Warmongers. The problem with that is that this E-Strike puts us to 5, and now it is very possible that we are dying to traps. Maybe that's a risk we need to take. We've seen Riptide play a number of traps already, but I don't mind blocking here. Riptide with the Trench just makes Warmongers that much worse, So I think we are getting more value out of it by blocking than we are playing. And I take a different line here that I don't agree with. We block with the Soul Beat Strike, which I think is fine. But what it means is we are not looking to pitch this Warmonger, so we don't do quite as much damage as we could. And instead, we're going to play this Warmongers. And while we are effectively blanking this card in Riptide's arsenal, the Trench generating a resource lets Riptide use the Dreadbore. I just don't think it's good enough. Phoenix Flame here comes for 2. We get another trap out of Riptide, but if we had our Soul Bead Strike, we could attack with that for 2 and put Riptide down to 1. Riptide and I both choose War, and we draw back up into a pretty bad hand. If we were going to take no damage this turn, then we can make something out of this hand. But as it is, we have to deal with Bolt and Shot and whatever comes next. So we are just going to do some blocking here to play around Rain Razors. But we also have to deal with this Endless Arrow. So we're going to block for 4, make sure that Riptide does not get the arrow for Arsenal. We also just can't really do anything with that Lava Burst. We Mounting Anger, Ember Blade, Lava Burst for 2. Riptide has the ability to block this mounting. He can block the Ember Blade, and then Lava Burst does not even present lethal. At this point, we're spiraling. I don't think it is possible for us to win this game anymore, and I think that is a result of very overly cautious play. I think playing the value game is fine, but we needed to commit to that. We needed to not break pouncing links. When we did it too soon. And if we had instead on either of the turns where we played very defensively, recognized that we were sacrificing too much damage, and instead had said, okay, we're just gonna go foot to the pedal, let's push some damage, we would have won this race. The 3 points of damage that we sacrificed by blocking the Infecting Shot is now coming back to get us. And the possibly 6 to 8 points of damage that we sacrificed by blocking the Drill Shot is now killing us. So overall, we played overly cautious this game, and we're going to lose because of it. I also think blocking this Searing Shot for 4 is a mistake. I think we should have blocked for 2 and gone to 1. That at this point, we are too far behind. We need to make Riptide have it. We need to make Riptide do something to kill us. We can't just hope that he draws all non-attacks. We need to take some risks. Riptide can Infecting Shot for 8. Unfortunately, we only have 1 3-block in our hand, so we have to give our entire hand to Riptide on blocks. And we are just going to die. Riptide codexing for a Falcon Wing. We will speed through our process and take a Blaze Headlong. Unfortunately, we do need to block this Falcon Wing, and we are going to take a bit of damage from it. Sideboard here shooting off the 5 damage searing shot is just enough to kill us. So overall, we just didn't race well enough. We tried to play value oriented as opposed to aggressively oriented, but we didn't even do that well because the value that we were gaining from blocking was less than the value we would have gotten from attacking. And had we stepped on the gas pedal earlier, I think we could have turned this into a win. So recognizing where your overall value is less than your offensive value is very important, and I did not do that here. Hopefully you can in your future games. I do hope you learned something from this. I hope it was helpful. If it was, be sure to head jab that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback, and I will see you back here tomorrow for more daily FaB gameplay. Until then, take care.